Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, it is 11:03 on The Lock Shop. Thank you very much for being here. Dusty with you. Hustler is going to be joining us. Jake is going to be joining us. And Pat Gregoire, I believe, is going to be joining us as well today. And we're going to go four-man weave. I think we have Pat's, shake your head, Jake, if Pat is joining us. No, he's not joining us. Oh, no, he is joining us. He just clicked in. All right, I think Pat's joining us. I don't know. We'll find out. I thought Jake would have known. As Jake was shaking his head like this, Pat popped up. that was kind of funny. So, yeah, I think we're going to go four wide today on The Lock Shop. Brought to you by our great partners over at Coolbet. Hopefully you cashed a few bets yesterday with the 3 games in the National Football League. We got another game today. We'll definitely set that up, and then we'll give you our best bets throughout the weekend. It's a busy slate in the NHL tonight as well. We'll probably have to try to hit on that. If you're not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, use the code LOCKSHOP when you do, and you will get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. And, I mean, they got the combo cards at the top, and there's tons of promotions that you can get your hands on every single day as well. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. Of course, you can hit us up in the nasty chat. Hammer the thumbs up if you are there. If we get to 500 likes on The Lock Shop today, I'll eat a tomato like an apple. Maybe. I don't know. No, that's gross. Anyway, it worked this morning. All right, so we do have Jake and Huss locked and loaded. Let's do it. Let's bring in the boys. Let's bring the guys in. Who connected if it wasn't Pat? Do you know, Trev?
It was.
It was Pat.
It was Pat, but I mean, he messaged me and said he'll be watching the show a little later when he's getting ready for the game. So I got to assume he's.
Oh, he's got an NLL game today.
He's in Ottawa right now. I think Ottawa just got a new expansion team, the Black Bears. So it's Rock and the Black Bears tonight in Ottawa to kick off the NLL season. So he's there. Yeah, he'll be calling the game. If you're watching, I'm sure it's on TSN. If you're looking to watch some NLL tonight or bet on some NLL, Coolbet is definitely the spot to do the NLL betting.
Man, I like nothing against you guys. It's still going to be a great show, but I was really excited for a 4-man weave today. Jeez. Oh, well, you know what? We'll get through it. Hey, Huss, you'll appreciate this. I tried an artichoke heart on the show this morning for the first time ever. Yeah. So we had a tray from Italian Center Shop with a bunch of meats and cheeses, and there was artichoke heart, and Eric's like, you should have one. I said, listen, if we get to 500 likes today, I'll have an artichoke heart. And we were at like 220 with like 45 minutes left in the show. And I swear to God, 15 minutes later, we had an additional 280 likes just so I would eat an artichoke heart. And I almost puked. You have to go back and watch it. It was around 8:25. I almost puked on the air this morning. Have you ever had an artichoke heart?
No, I haven't. I'll cut you a pass. I'll cut you a pass on that. I know I give you a hard time about having the palate of a 6-year-old, which is true. But that's even beyond. I heard that. But you know what, dude? I think you cracked the code because EST, the way you guys have set up your operation, you do have, I think, a lot more people listening live, kind of like old school radio.
Yeah.
So
that's what
I have a feeling. My theory is that all those people heard and that went, shit, I better get onto YouTube. I better to give a like. So
it's funny you bring that up because
compare your views and likes of this show to some of the others. I know you haven't been there for a while, so maybe it's tough to compare, but I think you may have cracked the code. So you may be signing yourself up for more success for EST and having to try some more things.
I mean, if I have to do something like that every month, I will puke on the air at some point. I know I will. I almost did today. I gagged. It was disgusting. But you are right, Huss. Like, and that you could probably go back and tell on the show the moment I totally forgot about how many people are listening on TuneIn and iHeart because the text started coming in. They're like, "Hey, Dusty, I just hopped over onto YouTube." I was just like, "Oh no, I totally forgot," and then it backfired. It backfired big time. So whatever, I got through it. I'm still here. And unlike Eberflus, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, he is not here anymore. He was.
Hey, how do you feel? Okay, so this is great. For once, we get. I don't have to bear all the brunt of having a great team that doesn't come through covering for the people. It is your Lions. And I got to tell you, Now, listen, I know they got very, very banged up, and I mean, that is a concern. Their secondary is a disaster, but I don't know how much of the first half you saw because you had the meeting when we were on the air. I mean, they should have been up 24 zip, maybe 28 zip. I mean, they're a team that finishes drives. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone in the first half, and it was a miracle that Chicago was even in the game. They got their first down in the last minute of the second quarter. And then in the second half, Caleb Williams came to play, taking advantage of that depleted secondary, and they were there. But I got to tell you, I mean, you guys dodged a major bullet there with some of the listen, that was about the biggest cluster bleep of clock management I can remember seeing in the NFL in years. And listen, I know Eberflus is taking all the heat, but Caleb Williams cannot skate on this unscathed. Oh, he's a rookie. Listen, you're the quarterback of a professional team. You have to have better situational awareness than he showed on that play. Now, listen, when he got knocked on his ass, when the right tackle just had I think Luke Wilson called it a glitch in the matrix or something last night. Like, he just ignored the edge rusher and Williams got killed. Like, listen, you can't take a sack there, but he did. And at that point, I think Eberflus does need to step in, but there was still a lot of time. Like, I understood what the thinking was, and they should have been able to get a play off and call a timeout. But man, they went from 32 seconds to 7 seconds. And, you know, I know you're kind of pot committed at a certain point, but that was brutal. And I got to say, the Lions have to feel pretty fortunate that the Thanksgiving was not spoiled in spectacular fashion. We're all talking about how that team choked against the Bears of all teams. I
said it Wednesday on the Lock Shop. I was very nervous about this game, but I was nervous about this game not in that fashion. Like, I didn't think it would be. I thought the Bears would sort of just hang with them the entire time. I was not thinking second half collapse essentially as the way that it was going to go down. So I was very nervous. I was following along as much as you can when you're doing stuff. So I was scrolling on Twitter, and people are like, the Lions are playing a different sport than the Chicago Bears right now. And I was just like, oh, this is going great. And that was in the first half. And then it was just like, I noticed, I was like, another field goal. What the hell is going on here? They're moving the ball, but they're not finishing it. And then by the time I got home, it was, 8 minutes left in the game, and I sat down and I was just in full-blown panic mode for the rest of the game. So I was nervous from the very beginning. But the way they handled that, you're right. I mean, Huss, there was a couple of different ways they could have gone about it. They could have called the timeout right then, stopped the clock at 32 seconds, taken a shot to the end zone, or taken a shot, an out-of-bounds route to keep the drive alive, and then kick the field goal if need be after that, right?
They could have even, they didn't even need to go to the end zone, or they still needed to get 4
out of
yards
bounds, but
comfortable in. But I mean, with 32, if you're snapping the ball at 32 seconds, you have more than enough time to run your, even if the clock is running, to run your field goal team on. I thought Luke did a great job last night. He said, the Mayday call where the clock is running and the field goal unit has to come on and guys come off. He described it as the comfortable time is 17 seconds. So
to make the switch with time on the clock,
as long as the play doesn't take more than 15 seconds, which it wouldn't, you would have been fine. So it was a mistake not to call the timeout at that point because of the situation, and then it was handled brutally by Caleb Williams, who's not taking any heat right now. It is all going on Eberflus, and he has to own it as the head coach. It's hilarious. And Jake, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of this. Bears fans were apoplectic yesterday. They're exponentially more pissed today that Eberflus was in the building talking to the media because he's still got a job today.
Well, I think he was just let go, though.
He was fired 25 minutes ago. Yeah,
just
25 minutes ago.
So they let him come in.
Yeah.
In the building and then did it.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense.
They've been on Twitter.
The Bears are known to keep coaches, though. This is, and I listen to Part of My Take, and Big Cat says it all the time. They'll keep a coach right through the year. No matter how bad of a season no matter how bad a season is going, they'll keep the coach.
First time in 100 years that they've done this. Yeah.
But why? It doesn't even make sense. Why are you keeping coaches in some of the years we've watched this Bears team? And this one, this one's up there with the way they started and the way it's all kind of spun around. Why are you keeping these guys around? Eberflus on the sideline looked like an absolute buffoon yesterday. It was embarrassing. And, at what point do you pull your quarterback out of that? He's a rookie quarterback. Eberflus, use the timeout. You could still – if they would have used the timeout early enough, they still could have ran a third down play, try to get something to the sideline, get a few more chunk yards. Yeah, Santos might have had to kick a longer field goal. They're in a dome. It's not like – it's not like we're worried about the outdoor conditions of what's going to happen with the ball and the kick. I don't know. What a mess. Why I'm so fired up is because I had the gravy boot yesterday, and it was every team to record a field goal, and the only team who didn't record a field goal was the Bears. And they were set up just fine to do so, to tie that game, get the field goal. I know Spencer was on it with me as well. Absolutely ridiculous.
I was wondering why you were so fired up about this. I knew there was another reason here. I knew it.
Yeah, I don't really care. I'm glad Eberflus is out of the building. I mean, hopefully that's good for Bears fans. It'll just be – it's one of those things now where, they'll have an interim and, you're just praying as a Bears fan that they're going to make the right hire. I know, there's a lot of whispers about Ben Johnson. I'd be really surprised if Ben Johnson goes to the Bears. They are dysfunctional as it comes. And, you really got to, go in and you're not just you're picking up a pretty good roster, but you got to turn an entire organization around. You got to turn an entire organization around to not be this ultimate embarrassment that they've been over the last. Think about all the Bears moments we've had just this season. The losses they've had. I saw the video yesterday. The Hail Mary of Tyreek Stevenson on the sideline going like this, and then he tips the ball into the guy's hands for the Commanders. Blocked field goal against their arch rival, Green Bay Packers. They could have beat the Packers. Blocked field goal, lose that game. Lose a heartbreaker in overtime to Minnesota, another NFC divisional opponent. And then yesterday afternoon, this game when you don't even – I couldn't believe the game was over. I'm sitting here that's how the game's going to end, with a deep pass that doesn't even hit anybody. And I'm sitting there. I also had that parlay I had thrown together in the Build Your Bet. And I was like, at least someone pick off that ball that Caleb threw deep so we can keep that thing alive. It didn't end up really hitting on anything, but I just wanted something to go my way yesterday. I couldn't get it to happen.
Count me in on nothing going my way yesterday. I hope that I got rid of all of the bad picks, mojo, luck, everything on the Thursday, and we can move in, have a great, strong, dominating performance by the Chiefs today to bring me in with a little bit of momentum into Sunday. By the way, speaking of the Chiefs, just before we kind of get into the Sunday slate, the line right now is 13, and we do have the Ride with Huss exclusive, which I put together a couple days ago. Chiefs minus 12.5. Chiefs team total 27 or more. Kareem Hunt touchdown. And Mahomes 2+ passing TDs. I know Pacheco's back. I still think Kareem has been so good. He'll be involved. And I think it would be prudent of the club, if they do have goal line situation, to let Kareem hold that for a little bit and let Isaiah kind of roll in. So that's gone down. It was plus 275. It's been bet down to plus 265. But that is up right now in the exclusives. And kickoff is in an hour and 45 minutes, so you got time to get that in if you want to.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And go ahead, Jake. What do you want to say there, buddy?
No, I was just going to say, while we're on the exclusives, both the sports talk parlays are there. I'm sure we'll get to it when we talk NHL. You do got to work for it a bit. If you go to the exclusives, scroll down, you'll have to click the and more button, and you'll see the sports talk parlays, both Winnipeg and Edmonton for the Jets and Oilers tonight are both there and available. So, some partner parlays ready. A few exclusives for the Black Friday game as well in there. And then some combo cards also ready for, some afternoon hockey, afternoon football. Another great day of sports, guys. I know yesterday was really only football. I've been diving into the college basketball a little as well. But another great day, college football, pretty good slate there. Another NFL game, ton of NBA Cup action. A ton of NHL games. Like I know we're not going to probably have enough time to get to all of it, but yeah, if you're betting today, you got plenty to choose from.
Yeah, there's lots to get to around the National Hockey League as well. But let's start with the National Football League, and obviously we're going to get to our best bets. We'll get to some touchdown scores. Has Pat sent anybody a touchdown score? At least we got a touchdown score from him for the parlay. Fire him a text for that.
I'll get one from him.
Huss, where are you at on this 13 for today?
I'm laying it. I love the Chiefs in this spot, and you know that I've not been taking them with these big numbers against any other teams. To me, this is different. First of all, it's the Raiders, and I'm totally at peace with the loss to the Bills a couple weeks ago. I thought Josh Allen stepped up. I think he put the team on his back in the fourth quarter. It was an incredible play that he made to get the touchdown. They ended up getting up 9, and that was pretty much it. You're going to lose a game or two over the course of this season, no problem. The last loss the Kansas City Chiefs had other than that Buffalo game was last Christmas at home against the Raiders. And if you remember that game, guys, it was the most bizarre game ever. I got served up not one but 2 lumps of coal in the stocking in the first quarter, I should say, with those back-to-back defensive touchdowns in 9 seconds. So the Raiders had that big lead in the first quarter. Aiden O'Connell, AOC, did not complete a pass after the first quarter, and they still won the football game. It was the most bizarre game ever. And then, of course, there was the Mahomes puppet thing or whatever that pissed him off. They were comfortably covering the game in Vegas a few weeks ago that I was at. And then, typical late, nothing touchdown, backdoor cover cost it. Here's why I think it's different today. First of all, everyone remembers the Christmas game last week. I think will be very motivated to do it. The Raiders stink. I mean, Antonio Pierce himself called them the worst team in the league this week. When your coach is saying that, what does everyone else have to say? But here's the thing. That Carolina game last week was another close call for Kansas City. They were up 11. They give up a field goal. And then, as we talked about on Monday, credit to Bryce Young. He had maybe his best game, certainly of the season, maybe of his career, and played awesome and got them back in and tied the game up. And once again, Mahomes had to be a hero with the winning drive in the last 2 minutes. What's different about that game, though, was what happened afterwards. And, following all the beat reporters, they said they were in the locker room afterwards. It was very different. They said it felt like a loss. And the players were very cognizant that they got away with one. And I think it was mostly on the defensive side of the football, to be honest. I mean, Mahomes had a really good game. I think he had the 3 TDs. He had, and no picks. It was fine. I think they come out and make a statement today that this is not going to happen again on their watch, especially at home, especially against the Raiders. You mix in the fact that they're down a number of their top, the guys that we thought were going to be the impact players, they're on like their third running back, and AOC's back in, and they're not even sure that he can throw the football right now. And I think that is quite a condemnation of Desmond Ridder because Minshew's out for the season. So I know the Chiefs have a very poor record of caring about our covering bets over the course of this season. I think today is the day that they do it. I think we're going to see a monster game from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. I think the defense steps up, not when they need to, but right from the get-go. And I'm hoping it's a romp in the second half. But yeah, I'm laying the points on this one. I'm taking overs on Mahomes. And I think we're going to have 2 11-1 teams at the end of things today.
One of them's my favorite team, and one of them's yours. What a time to be alive, and what a time to be inside the Lock Shop.
The Lock Shop Bowl is very much on the table right now, Dustin.
Oh, I love that.
And
I love that.
I don't know if I can handle the Lions playing in the Super Bowl. I mean, you're used to it. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine it. That would be bloody phenomenal. All right, let's dive into the entire slate this week in the National Football League. We'll give you the odds, and we'll give you our 4 best bets each. Pick a little touchdown score parlay here as well. The house callers. Chargers on the road against Atlanta. Chargers are 1.5-point road favorites. The Steelers are 3-point dogs going into Cincinnati. The Texans are 3.5-point road favorites going up against Jacksonville. Vikings, 3.5 home favorites against the Cardinals. The Colts, 2.5-point road favorites against New England Patriots. The Seahawks, Jets, it's almost a pick 'em. Seahawks are a 1-point favorite on the road against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. The Commanders, 6-point favorites at home. The Bucks, Commanders are playing the Titans. The Bucks are 6-point favorites on the road going up against Carolina. Bucks have a pretty soft schedule the rest of the way. If they have any idea of making a playoff push, maybe it's possible. The Rams, 3-point favorites on the road against the Saints. The Ravens, 3-point favorites at home against the Eagles. The Bills are 7-point home favorites against the Niners. And then the Monday Nighter we'll get to on Monday, but the Broncos right now, 5.5-point favorites over there. Guys, I said 3 or 3.5 points quite a few times as I was going through the lines for this week. Huss, let's start with you, buddy. Give me your best bet for the week.
You know, I am not going to take one of the 3 or 3.5ers right off the bat. And I'm so happy that I waited on this bet from last night because we got an extra half point, which is where I was a lot more comfortable taking it. But I am taking the Tennessee Titans +6 against the Commanders. Now, listen, I know you might be thinking, hey, this is a huge overreaction, Huss. The Titans just had their biggest win of the season against the Texans last week, and the Commanders had maybe their biggest disappointment of the year, losing to the Cowboys in the fashion that they did. Here's the thing. I think we've had a major market correction in Washington. Like, Jaden Daniels had that great start to the year, and he is the truth. Don't get me wrong. This is not an anti-Daniels rant. But I'm just not sure that everything else is sort of caught up to them a little bit. And here's the other thing. The Titans were finding a way to lose early on this season. Now, listen, there's still a good chance Will Levis is going to make one really boneheaded play a game that's going to end up in the other hands of the other team and maybe going the other way. I just think that the way Pollard's running right now, the momentum that they've got with their new coach, that this is going to be a game. Like, I'm certainly not betting the Titans to win on the money line, but I'm not sure the Commanders, where they're at right now, are blowing anybody out. And I think the Titans right now have some real momentum after that win last week. So I expect this to be a competitive game. I'm going to take the Titans +6. And as I said, I'm happy I waited because it was 5.5 last night. And it's not even juiced. It's -110 at +6 right now. I don't think we're going to get a better number than where we're at right now if you like the Titans as I do.
Jake, where are you going for pick number 1?
I've struggled with this board, fellas. I don't love a lot, but I'm going to start off with a principal play. And I think partially this is because I think one of the teams is close to dead, if not already dead. And the other team, there's little room for error in the position they are. I'm going to take the Steelers +3. You can't fade Mike Tomlin as an underdog. It's been proven he is substantially better against the spread as an underdog than he is as a favorite. And it's one of those spots where, the Bengals have needed it all year long, and they just have not been able to get it. You think about that Chargers game, how bad they needed it, the comeback they were able to make, and still come up short with a loss. The 2 Ravens games they played, both those games, they probably should have had it, couldn't get it done. Could they win this football game? Absolutely. But I think it's one of those spots where it's like, how much more do they have left in the tank? And can they even make a run that's going to be good enough to get them inside the playoffs at this point of the season? So, strictly principle, Mike Tomlin is an underdog. I'm just going to keep rolling with it. I hate betting against Joe Burrow the way he's been playing, but I think that Steelers defense is legit. And I think, like I said, there's not a lot of room for error in that division. Like, the Ravens are chomping at the heels of the Steelers right now. So they need this probably, as much as, you could argue the Bengals do.
For me, I'll keep my first pick really quick because it was by far my favorite play of the week, and it's the Tennessee Titans with Huss. When Huss brought that up, too, I was like, well, this is definitely going in the parlay. The Commanders should not be 6-point favorites against anybody right now. Like, it's just, and Huss made a good point on the Titans coming off the game that they were coming off of. The Commanders offensively fallen off of a cliff after week 8. Like, it's just, it's completely, it's this Kingsbury, they've just, I don't know if people figured it out again or what, but they have fallen off a cliff offensively after week 8. And the Titans come in with a defense that can cause some problems for some teams. So Tennessee +6, 100% on board with Huss on that one. I mean, I won't even be surprised if they win this football game. I mean, the Commanders have lost 3 in a row. This could be a team that, what we saw in the first half of the season, it's your tip. And I'm not putting it all on Jaden Daniels, but as a guy who has Jaden Daniels as a starting quarterback in the Spite League, let me tell you this. He's been extremely disappointing for about 3 weeks in a row outside of the last 2 minutes against the Dallas Cowboys. So I was very much on the Commanders early in the season. I have learned my lesson. I really, really like the Titans +6 points in this football game. So that'll be my favorite pick of the week by far. Huss, where are you going for your second one?
You know what? A few games to consider. I was thinking about this Niners-Bills game, but I don't think there's any way you can bet that right now, not knowing the full status of Purdy and whether he's going to go for sure. But the other thing is, have you guys seen the weather forecast for Buffalo for Sunday night?
Oh, yeah. We got like a winter storm warning rolling through all week.
Like
Beautiful.
One of those Buffalo lake effect snow.
Oh, yeah.
They could have 2 feet of snow for this game. Like, and literally the game is planned like right in the middle of this storm. So I'm going to steer clear of player props and whatnot. I think, I'm going to go to the Rams. I know the Saints have won a couple games and have looked a little bit better after they fired Dennis Allen. And I know the Rams were very disappointing against the Eagles last week, not able to stop the run at all. But listen, the Rams are still very much in it in that division. This is a game that they absolutely have to have. They're indoors on the fast track. They've got Puka. They've got Cooper Kupp. I think Matt Stafford's still playing at a high level. As long as they can take care of the football, Kyron Williams, especially early on in the game, I think they'll be good. Now, you can play this. You get even better than even money at -3. I think the way to play this is probably the 2.5 at -120, which is sort of our limit for at least for the best bets, because I could absolutely see this being relatively close. I'm not saying the Saints are going to get embarrassed like they were getting embarrassed earlier on in the season, but they're not playing Cleveland this week. I mean, they're not playing Carolina. They're playing the Rams and Sean McVay with their season on the line. So I've got some confidence that the Rams can get to the Superdome and get out with a win by 3 or more. So I'll for the picks, I'll throw 2.5 on it. If you do like them more, though, you can get a better number, +101 at -3.
Jake, where are you going for play number 2?
I'm going to go to the Vikes. This is a team I haven't really covered a lot this year. This has been more of a Huss team. I mean, he's like the Vikings. He's like the way they've played. And it's another team, in a division where, they're a couple games back of the Lions. They have that second loss on there, and they have a loss to the Lions. So, I don't necessarily think it's going to be a hard road to win that division, but to kind of hold their position where they are, the Packers are on their tails. They picked up another win last night. And I think the Cards might have a little bit of fraudulence to them. They lose last week to the Seahawks. I know that's a divisional game, and you really got to throw it out the window when two divisional teams get together. But you look at their wins before the bye. They beat the Jets and they beat the Bears, both pretty handily. I think we can all agree the Jets and the Bears aren't great football teams. They squeaked by the Dolphins before that, and then just squeaked by the Chargers, I think, on a game-winning field goal as well. The most impressive win, I'd say, is probably the Chargers on that card. But just one of those teams I'm not yet sold on. And I think the Vikings have been playing good ball. Defensively, really solid. They have the offensive pieces. I don't know what Daniel Jones in that locker room is going to mean for the Vikings. But I think that's the team I'm riding with this week. So, I hate that we have to take the hook at 3.5, but I don't know. I'm just not sold on the Cards just yet. I think if they win this football game, that'll be a little bit more impressive to me, but I got to see it before I get behind them. So I'll take the Vikes at -3.5.
I'm going to go to a team coming off a pretty disappointing loss, a team that I believe is 2-4 in their last 6, but a team that's playing the Jags. And I know Trevor Lawrence is apparently going to play this week, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. Houston, 3.5-point favorites on the road here. And this was one stat that really stood out to me. There's a couple of them, but for Houston right now, they get Nico Collins back. CJ Stroud has not been playing good. He hasn't been great this season, but he's definitely been more disappointing over the last couple of months. But he's going up against a Jacksonville defense that ranks dead last in pass rush win efficiency. So his offensive line is like 27th, but they're going up against like the worst pass rush in the National Football League right now, and one of, if not arguably, the worst pass defense in the National Football League so far this season. So I think this is a finally much-needed CJ Stroud get-right spot against a Jacksonville team that's sort of just walking around through the wilderness right now, and we'll see what Trevor Lawrence can bring to the table. But Houston minus 3.5, and this was 3-4 weeks ago, I would have been all over this. But CJ Stroud is, I don't know what's going on with CJ Stroud, but I think this is the matchup he needs to get back on track. I don't know if it'll propel him to a strong finish, but I'll take it in a one-off. So Texans minus 3.5 here on the road against Jacksonville.
I don't mind that. I think they're definitely the better team. Speaking of coaches being fired, it's kind of amazing that Paterson is still the guy there in Jacksonville. He gets another chance to do it. I know they're coming off the bye. I'm not buying anything that the Jags are selling though right now, even with your guy Trevor Lawrence. Listen, for my next pick, I'm going to a game, and I'm going to make this pick based on the spot. I think Feinberg calls this the Widowmaker spot, where you've got a team coming out of a tough Monday night football game, playing on a short week against a team coming off the bye. The Chargers are 1.5-point favorites in Atlanta. On a neutral field in a regular week with what the Chargers have done so far, I think I might actually be buying the Chargers because I think they're good. I mean, their defense has really stepped up this year, and Justin Herbert, I think, is playing great. No J.K. Dobbins. You're going to have Kareem Vidal, I think, in as the number one guy. If you're looking for a nice little cheaper player on DFS that might get a bunch of touches. But listen, the Falcons are 6-5, and their season, they beat the Eagles early on. Obviously, that's their best win. They've got 2 wins over Tampa, which are good wins, and then they've got a win over the Panthers, and they've got a win over the Cowboys. They're coming off that loss to the Saints, which hurt them, and getting their asses kicked by the Broncos. I think this bye came in at the perfect time for Atlanta. I think they'll be reset and ready to go. And I just think that the schedule maker has put the Chargers in a really, really bad spot. This is not throwing any shade at LA whatsoever, but I just think that they are put in a situation that, I mean, they're road favorites on a short week against a good team, like a team that's good enough off the bye. I can't ignore that. I'm going to take the 1.5 with Atlanta. And I think this will be a real tight one. I mean, I guess they could even lose by a point, but I do think Atlanta squeaks this out. If you want to take the money line, it's basically even money. I think minus 101. But for the sakes of the picks, I'll take plus 1.5 at minus 111.
Let me just hop in here because this was going to be my next pick as well. So I had a few more things to it. So when you said the Widowmaker, I was just like, yeah, I know exactly where he's going because I'm on Atlanta in this spot as well. But let's add this into the mix. You make a good point on their run game being beat up. They've allowed 57 points in the last 2 games. I've been against some pretty good teams, but still, they just kind of sit back in zone coverage. And for Kirk Cousins, man, that's like the Trevor Harris of the National Football League. Like, you cannot let him just sit there. He will pick you apart. The Chargers rank 29th in pressure rate in the league right now. And if you're not going to cause issues for Kirk Cousins will find Bijan. He'll find Drake London. He'll even find Kyle Pitts, for goodness sakes. And, of course, he's got Darnell Mooney as well. So the weapons are there for him. And you give Kirk Cousins time, he'll go 28 of 34 for 2 or 3 touchdowns against you. And that's what we've seen the Chargers allow lately. So parlay's building itself here. But, yes, I'm on the Falcons plus 1.5 as well. Jake, what's your third pick?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I've been trying to find the 4th pick And I like both those options that you guys laid out there, Texans and Falcons. I think you're right. Like, I like the Chargers. I like them a lot. I think it's that spot, though.
They're a good team. They're a really good team.
Yeah, it's just hard to ignore the spot, right? Like, Falcons off the bye. Got to think they're going to be fresh. They're going to be, in need of a win. And the Chargers, like you said, on a bit of a shorter week. It'll be an interesting one. The one I have on my card, Huss is going to hate me for this. But I got the Ravens -3. I know we banned the Eagles. Betting on Eagles.
I banned myself.
Banned altogether.
This is going to be an awesome
game. This is a wild game. I stayed away from it for my best bets, but I'm glad somebody brought it up.
Someone's got to pick it, right? Like I said, I know we talked about like the Eagles. I just keep fading them. I don't know what my problem is. I just think like I'm going to get them one of these days. But I do think the Ravens play to their opponent. That's what I found with the Ravens. You think about that Raiders game, the Browns game, they ended up losing outright. Like they kind of allowed those teams to hang around. But in the big games, you think about the Chiefs game early on, they didn't win, but they're a toenail away from, I forget, I don't know if that was to win the game or to force overtime, but they were right there in that game. They beat up on the Bills pretty good. The Eagles are a good football team. I think we can all agree on that. They're leading that division. They'll probably end up winning that division. But I think the Ravens, like, there is very little room for error. I talked about the Steelers earlier in that division. Like, they lost to the Steelers earlier this season. They're a game back of them right now with that extra loss in the loss column. I think they need to find all the wins they can get. -3, I like a lot better than 3.5. And you look at the teams behind the Ravens too. The Chargers 7-4, the Broncos 7-5. Luckily for the Ravens, they've got wins over both those teams right now. That helps them out a little bit, but I think the room for error is very small. I think the Eagles have a bit more room for error, kind of where they are, and with the Lions picking up another win as well this week. And I think the Ravens play to their opponent. I think we could see a big game out of them, especially at home too. I'm gonna back Harbaugh and the Ravens at -3 against the Eagles.
We can learn a lot about these two teams this week in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to watch this football game. Huss, anything on that game or just go right to your fourth pick?
Well, I mean, I'll just say this. As I said, I banned myself from my hatred of the Eagles blinding me and betting them. Now, I think this is probably a better week to go against them than last week. But listen, they're on the road. They're playing a Baltimore team that, as Jake mentioned, as great as they are at times, they've lost a lot of games, and they absolutely need this one. I mean, from a Chiefs perspective, I actually think I need to cheer for the Ravens because, with all due respect to the Steelers, the Ravens scare me a hell of a lot more. And the best scenario for Kansas City is to win the 1 seed and to have the Bills and the Ravens be 2-3, so that those two teams would play against each other in the divisional playoff, and you'd only have to beat one of those at home to win. So I'll ride with you on that one. My last pick, and actually, Jake, I'm going to go head-to-head against you on one, and I'm actually going with the Bengals in this game. And you know me, I've been on Pittsburgh all season long.
Yeah, I've been.
This is a Joe Burrow bet. And if you look back at what Burrow has done while he's been healthy over the course of his career, he's been able to put often dysfunctional, undermanned Bengals teams on his back with that offense and win when they absolutely need them. They are basically in a playoff mode right now where they have to win to stay alive. We've talked about their schedule. I mean, you get past this game, and there's some real soft ones on it. I do not rule the Bengals out from being a team that could potentially catch a Denver or catch a Chargers, but they have to win this game right now. The Steelers do have a little bit of extra rest. The Bengals are coming off the bye. Now, it kind of sucks for the Bengals that they don't get the max benefit of that bye week because Pittsburgh does have a few extra days. But, man, we're looking at these tough divisional games. I know Tomlin's record as an underdog is phenomenal. And I know I went back through. I mean, Pittsburgh has done very, very well. Much like they've owned Baltimore the last few years, they've got a great record against Cincinnati. And often those have been underdogs. I mean, this is basically just giving Cincinnati the points for home field. And I think that's fair. I mean, realistically, with the records, they probably should be a shorter favorite. But I think the books know that Joe Burrow is playing at a very, very high level. It looks like he's going to have his weapons, and they are very, very different with T. Higgins in it. They're coming off 2 tough losses on the road to good teams. They're back at home with their season on the line. I'm going to ride with Joe Burrow on this one as much as I've been a Steelers guy all year.
All right, play number 4 for Jake. Where are you going with, man?
Yeah, like I said, I struggled to bounce around here. I don't want to steal either one of your guys' plays, so I'm going to go to something that worked for me last week, backing a team that I have a ticket on them to make the playoffs. I think I got it around 3-1. I think they're down around plus 120 now. I know it's a divisional game. I know the Panthers have played well over the last couple weeks here, but give me the Tampa Bay Bucks -6. Like I've said over the past couple weeks with the Bucks here, they need wins. And, that losing streak was a bit of a struggle. They're getting healthier. Mike Evans is back. I think this Bucks team, similar to like they did last week against the Giants, just takes care of business against, an inferior opponent. They got to stay in this race. And we're going to see what happens with the Falcons down the stretch here. I know we've talked about it. Falcons won both games in that head-to-head. So, the Bucks need some help, whether it's in the wild card or with the Falcons. But they got to help themselves as well. So I know it's a lot of points. I know I'm on 3 favorites, which I hate, but I haven't been that good either. So listen, I got to switch some stuff up. And this is a team that I can support right now. I mean, I've been behind them. I know they're going to be a heavy public team, I'm sure, this week, but I don't know. It's just someone I can get behind right now, Baker and the Bucks. So I'll take that -6 in Carolina this weekend.
Okay, I'm with you on the Bucks. So I want to add, before I lock it in as my 4th pick, because I was torn between 2 games. I think I like this one. I think there's a massive game coming here for Baker Mayfield. And the Panthers defense, and that's why I want to talk a little bit with Huss about the Panthers last week, but the Panthers defense, dead last in the league in pressure rate, 30th in the league from a passing defensive perspective, and Baker Mayfield has had, just a phenomenal season. So, I think there's... First of all, I'm going to hammer the over in this game, and I'll probably have the total in this game on a teaser. You move this line, you go Bucks and 41 points. I think the line's, 46, 47, 48, somewhere in there. You drop that bad boy down to 41, take the Bucks and the over. I think you're gonna like it. But should Jake and I be hesitant about Carolina after the close finish against the Chiefs? What do you think?
I'll say this. They got to Mahomes pretty good last week.
Did they?
Now, I think that's also an issue where the Chiefs' offensive line wasn't up to snuff. But listen, Carolina has so far to go to, I think, be on the level with the team like Tampa. They're still there. Bryce Young's going to have another really, really strong game. And listen, I think they'll get some points, but I don't know how well they're going to be doing stopping what Baker's got going on right now. So, yeah, like I said, I'm fine with that. They're definitely the better team. Every now and then with these division games, and these are 2 teams in the AFC South, I think Tampa's a lot better. Just the number and just how weird. We saw the Saints beat the Falcons a few weeks ago. Sometimes weird things. So I kind of stayed away from this game. But I don't mind the pick. I think the Bucks deserve to have the faith of bettors right now with what they've done. And listen, we saw this will be a tougher game though than last week against the Giants. The Giants had basically laid down for them. To me,
and it's the same number, which is interesting. I agree with you. I think it'll be a tougher game against the Giants, but the Bucks were favored by 6 against the Giants last week too, right? So I don't know what that means, but it's the same number, even though we like Carolina more. But I think Tampa. I think Tampa's going to win this game. Not comfortably. I think the Bucks, their schedule is sitting there for the taking. So let's go Bucks -6. I'll lock that in. So I'm on the Titans plus the 6 points, Atlanta plus 1.5, Houston -3.5 against Jacksonville, and then the Bucks -6. Jake, I got you down on the Steelers, the Bucks. Who else did you have?
The Vikings and the Ravens.
Vikings and the Ravens. And then Huss, we've got, I can't read my own writing, the Rams, the Titans. Who else?
Falcons and Bengals.
And Bengals. All right, there we go. Okay, there's two games that we didn't hit on. The one I was trying to figure out if there's a play here. What do you guys make of the Seahawks and Jets this week? Seahawks have won 2 in a row. Their defense is trending in the right direction. That was my 5th pick. That was one I'm like, man, can the Seahawks go out east and win this game with the way their defense has been playing the last couple of weeks? But I don't know. I just want to stay away from Aaron Rodgers and the Jets one way or the other. I couldn't get on the game.
Yeah, that game and the Indy Patriots game were very tough ones. I mean, the Colts one, they're just saying, hey, 2.5, here you go, take it. Win by a field goal and leave. As I said, I got burned by thinking that the Patriots would be better last week against the Dolphins and that they weren't. But I still think Drake May's good enough to keep them in that game and potentially win it. So, I mean, Jake will have a better take, I'm sure, on the Patriots right now. And yeah, Seattle, you just don't know. They're traveling across the country. Do the Jets have any pride left? I mean, will they be able to execute? I mean, on paper, the Jets are so much better than what they are right now in real life. And their defense has just been a disaster since Saleh got fired. So I don't trust the Jets at all. I'm also not sure Seattle can win. So that's why those were stayaways.
Jake, any thoughts on your own team there? Against Colts?
Listen, my Colts versus my Patriots, right? That's so hard to pick. Now,
the JVM Bowl.
It's honestly, it's the toughest game on the board. I sat there and I'm like, is there something here? I think the public will probably scoop up that 2.5. But I'm also the problem with this game is I'm thinking about my heart. I want them to lose. I want them to have a better pick. So I think I would take the Patriots just based on where the line is. But at the same time, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. So I just had to stay away. The Jets, I don't know what to say about the Jets. That's another one where I'm just should we just take the Seahawks with how ugly the Jets season has gone?
Yeah.
3-8, they're not making the playoffs. We can lock that in. It's not what are they playing for at this point? Pride? I wouldn't be surprised if they've kind of just packed it in for the season. I know it's only week 13, but just hard to get behind the Jets where they are at this current moment. So I don't know. Who knows? I might be on the Seahawks by kickoff, but don't count on it.
All right, partner parlay. Then we'll get to the house callers as well. Haas, we are both on the Titans. And we are both on the Falcons, so we could definitely throw both of those in there if you wanted. How do you guys think we round this thing out?
I think that we go with one of Jake's picks.
It's a lot of pressure.
Can't be Steelers because you guys went head-to-head.
We won't do the Ravens. Dusty, you said you like the Bucks.
I'm on the Bucks. I'm with you on the Bucks. Huss said he didn't mind that play.
Do you prefer Bucks or Bucks? The only thing that worries us about the Bucks is that divisional game, obviously. I mean, if we're okay with Minnesota, I'd be fine putting them at 3.5.
Well, here's a thought, and I just kick this in right now.
Okay.
We take the Titans to 6.5 because we can't have it on a round number for the exclusive. Mm-hmm. We have the Falcons plus 1.5. And I know it's a very, we're paying a lot more. It's a huge move from 3.5 to 2.5. But if we put the Vikings in at 2.5 at minus 154, pre-boost, we're at plus 475.
Yeah, it's really not.
That's
not
the
bad.
wheelhouse. That's the wheelhouse for sure.
Well, I mean, it's almost like we'll get it to where it would be with the regular spreads, but with two pretty advantageous points being bought. And I think we get that back in the boost. I mean, I would have had the Vikings on my card. I just were wondering, is the Vikings the team now that win, but they win by 3?
Right.
So, I mean,
I agree. I think that's good.
I agree. I with a parlay that we're getting boosted anyways, I think I'd rather, especially with it being my pick, I think I'd rather have it at that 2.5 number so we're not sitting there watching the game-winning field goal go through and they win by 3 and we're like, why didn't we just buy the points? I mean, minus 154 is juice, but like you said, in a parlay that's getting boosted, we're getting it back.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like this will be plus 525 or something like that when it drops. If it's plus 475 right now, and as they say, I'd far rather bet that, knowing that we've got the comfort of a win if the Vikings can win by 3.
All right, what about the house callers? Give me a touchdown score, Huss.
Let me just see what the number is here. I was thinking about going to this Minnesota game, and by the way, Sammy Darts went for 300 last week, had 2 100-yard receivers,
and who wasn't one of them?
And Justin Jefferson
wasn't one of them.
Crazy.
So I'm kind of thinking we're going to get a lot of Justin Jefferson in this game. And it wasn't like the Cardinal defense got carved up or anything like that last week. The other guy that I do like, okay, you know what? I don't think they're good. I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor on the ground, even money, plus 100 against the Patriots. But as they say, I was leaning. Like I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be doing a lot of running or a lot of throwing successfully. At least there's a bunch of their receivers that are out. So I think that just means more Jonathan Taylor, and I think they can and will be able to run somewhat on the Patriots. So give me JT at even money.
Who are you going with, Jake?
I think you might like this one, Dusty, but I could be wrong. I'm going Nico Collins.
He was one of my 2 options. I'll take my other guy. Good work.
Yeah, against Jacksonville, I mean, the pass defense has not been great for them this season. You're on the Texans. I mean, I like the Texans as well. I think this is a game that they can absolutely get right. They haven't felt right over the last few weeks here. I think we're due for like a big Collins game. He's got touchdowns in 4 of 7 games that he's played this season, so it's not like he's not finding the end zone. And I think he can find the end zone from anywhere. I think they can find him when they're in the red zone. I think he can find the end zone from midfield. I think he can find the end zone from their own end of the field. So give me Nico.
Okay, and then I'll go with my other guy, a guy who has taken over the running back position on a team that scores a ton of points, Bucky Irving on the Tampa Bay Bucks, plus 110. And a game where I think Tampa Bay is going to score points. So Bucky Irving, plus 110 will be my anytime touchdown score. Now, how have you guys been doing it when I've been gone? Have you just picked a consensus fourth?
I got Pats.
Oh, you got Pats. Okay, what do we got?
Yeah. He's going with his guy, the snow game, Jimmy Cooks. James Cook in the snow game.
Oh, bottom of the list. Bottom of the power rankings.
You guys are going to have to text the group chat after that one. The reaction, he's not going to like that.
Bottom of the power rankings.
Did he not ban himself? Was he not banned from taking Buffalo Bills in the house callers? Something tells this is deja vu right now.
At 1:18, I texted him. I said, TD score? And he said, yep, 1 second. And then he goes, give me Jimmy Cook. And I said,
oh, boy.
Love it.
All right. Power rankings will officially be Nico Collins, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, and then distant, like a bunch of dots all the way down. You have to scroll down, and then it's James Cook.
Text.
What a homer. I'm
just looking to see what's Cook's number. And the funny thing is Cook, like we all 3 of us took plus money, guys.
Yeah.
Cook's minus 149. Too.
Guys, remember though, when we hit a house callers, it came down to a prime time James Cook, and he took care of business. Like if it's going to happen this week, we're just recreating.
Same thing. Prime time. Yep.
This is going to be like 15-1. This is going to be like 15-1 because it's plus 1374. We add Cook.
I will say San Fran's been getting gashed on the ground lately. I don't know what's going on with them, but that is a positive if we're looking at it that way.
All right, Huss, Winnipeg Sports Talk in 2.5 minutes. What's coming up, buddy?
What's coming up? Lots of Jets Golden Knights talk. That game starts 5:30 in Vegas, 7:30 here in the Peg. We'll kind of get over what we were talking about yesterday with the NFL. And as a true professional, Dusty, you'll appreciate this. I think that my viewers and customers need to have somebody that is locked in and focused on the game. So I made sure that Gary Lawless joined me early. Got a great interview with Gary coming up that I'll be playing during the first quarter of the Chiefs game. We'll wrap it up with a little NFL notebook with Hacksaw, do some marbles, and then get on with the weekend.
Excellent. Boys, enjoy the football this weekend. We'll catch up on Monday, all right?
Hey, WST parlay is up for the game tonight. Jets to win, Kyle Connor goal, Morrissey point. That's up there. I know there's an EST one as well.
It is up there as well. Bouchard point, Draisaitl goal, Oilers win. We'll get into that coming up on the Oil Stream, which will start in less than 3 minutes right here on EST. For Jake and Huss, I'm Dusty. Best of luck this weekend, and I'll talk to you in the Oil Stream in just a moment.